Well, the last time I was speaking, I spoke about inner conflict. I don't know if you remember that. It was a way time ago, a few weeks, and it was about turning away from nurturing your ego, you know, all the things that you don't like about yourself, basically, and it's known as the flesh in the New Testament, and empowering and feeding and nurturing our real selves in Christ. And our real selves are selfless, kind, supportive of others, warm, friendly, patient, resilient. Resilient, the New Testament calls it endurance, patience, and above all, our real selves are positive. So I wanted to talk about what we can do to help ourselves flourish. And the reason I thought about this was, now then, how do I do this now? Is it a touch one? Yes, it is. Yeah. The Cubs did a science experiment, and they had to put one pot in the dark, one pot in the light but not water it, and one pot in the light and water it. Now they all grew. All these broad beans grew. And the one here was in the dark. I don't know if you can see that one there, this side. That was in the dark after 3 weeks. It still grew. And in the end, I would say after about a month, it grew like a long worm. It was looking for the light. It didn't get any leaves on it, but it grew. Now, I didn't think it would grow at all, to be honest. And the one that grew a tiny bit just stayed the same. It grew in the dark. There was no watering of it. There must have been some initial moisture in the actual plant soil. But the one that was flourishing got water and light. And I thought, well, in life, we can grow anyway. We'll grow one way or another. Any kind of life grows. I was a bit surprised. I was a bit capped, really. But it's when you get the right kind of things that you really flourish. It isn't just existing. It isn't just growing. And that's that plant over there. That was, I would say, no, wait a minute. There weren't 3 weeks. It was like 2.2 weeks was that. So, I mean, it's so much bigger now. But it's funny, the one in the dark didn't get any different. It's not changed. But the one, the one in the light didn't change. But the one in the complete dark at this side just did this. It was like a very long worm. And it was looking for the light, I think. Kept that in the dark. So therefore, Scarlett got her badge, her science badge, so that she was doing this. So, but it made me think, well, we know with the plants what makes us flourish. We'll grow anyway, but what is it that you can grow anywhere at any time? But what really helps you flourish? So that was my question. And I wanted some ideas from yourselves. And I'd asked Moz, and he's forgotten, to give everybody paper and pen, but I think I can forgive him because he's had a very busy week. Here's a psalm that might help. A happy heart is good medicine. Being cheerful keeps you healthy. That's the same proverb. So, you know, it's very difficult to flourish if you're unhappy or uncheerful. But just wondered, what makes you happy and healthy? Perhaps we don't need to type them up. Perhaps we can just say them. So if you could give it a little bit of thought, we'll have about a few minutes. Would you like to just turn to somebody else and have a chat with them and then have a quick discussion, and then perhaps you could come up. What are the things that make you happy and healthy? So, anybody got any ideas? Karen, you're a person of ideas. Being around positive people, yes. That's a good one. Yeah, Lillian, anything? Good friendship group, social friendship group. Yeah, good friendship group. That's a good one. Anything, Sharon? The weather. Good weather. Enjoying the weather, absolutely. Everybody's always in a better mood. Yeah. Anything?
Yeah, somebody said to me, if you ever get asked a question, the answer's always easy.
Well, the thing is, that's what used to happen in assembly. You know, it didn't matter what question you answered, somebody would put their hand up and go, God.
Well, Catherine was doing an RV session the other week.
Yeah.
She was doing it about Judaism.
Oh, right.
The children put their hands up and said, the answer Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. Because it always is. Yeah, yeah. I was trying to avoid the obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, hope.
Hope. Yeah.
So many people don't, struggle because they haven't got
They have no hope. Yeah, absolutely. And it affects their mental health and it affects their physical health as well, doesn't it? So hope's a really important one, yeah. Yeah. And I think a good friendship group, for me, would be affirmation. People who affirm you, and people who don't criticise you. Yeah. Yeah. Anything, Julie? Yeah. It's very therapeutic, isn't it? Yeah. Being outside in the fresh air and in nature, unless it's raining and thundering and lightning, and then it's not. Yeah, being in nature. Anything, Anne? Yeah. Taking initiatives that are going to help yourself. Yeah, that's a good one.
One of the things that really stood out to a lot of people that I found over COVID was when people were locked in.
Yeah.
They need that relationship.
They do need other people, don't they? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything that you thought of, Sophie, that we haven't mentioned? Yeah. I thought of something when we were in the cafe, and that was physical contact. Some people are really good huggers. Karen's one of them. Sharon's one of them. Just to have physical contact is quite good for mental health. Pardon? Hugs, yes. Hug therapy. Not when people don't want it, but when they do want it. I thought of a few. I thought of having a good laugh. Having a good laugh. A proper laugh. So I quite often look for things on the TV that are going to amuse me because it always raises your mood. And having fun. So sometimes I'm slightly over silly and maybe a bit over flippant because a bit like children are, they just want to have fun because fun makes you feel good. Being open-minded is another one that I thought of. And that was, if you're a bit over fussy about who you want to talk to and who you don't want to talk to, if you're a bit more open-minded and try and find out what that person is like, you're more likely to make more friends. I find, for me, personally, contact with children is quite important. Catherine might think, well, I think I probably... I think because you have an awful lot of contact with children, so you might feel like a rest sometimes. But, I think if you didn't have it, it would be, and for some people, it's contact with animals is very important. Now, I can not bothered over animals, but I do like a fix of being with children because they're always so buoyant. And it doesn't matter if they're a bit giddy and a bit daft. They're still full of life, aren't they? And they give life. Self-esteem and self-belief, which goes back to self-affirmation, affirmation. Some people can't do without their routine. They like routine. And I also said, I was thinking of risk it for a biscuit. You know, sometimes doing something that you haven't done before, risking it, brings a reward. That's why I thought of risk it for a biscuit, you know. Doing something that you have never thought about doing, but somebody might encourage you to do, or just to take an initiative. And I also thought of a little of what you fancy does you good. The trouble with me is I have a lot of what I fancy, and that's too much. But, you know, just something that improves your mood. Just do a little of what you fancy. Yeah, absolutely. Family, friends, being together. Music, really important. Yeah, absolutely. Actively being involved in music or art. You know, people find doing art really therapeutic, or crafts, don't they? Creativity. I also think being bold, you know, and again, it's risk it for a biscuit, you know, thinking, well, I'll go and speak to that person, I don't know them at all, or I'll go and do that thing, I've never done it before. I like going to somewhere, a cafe I've never been to, I like going to a place I've never been to before. But for some people, that's quite hard to do, because they want their routine. But while routine is good, it can give you a lift to do something different. For some people, sport is an absolute necessity. To watch it, to participate in it, it's very, very important. Exercise, yeah. It releases chemicals, doesn't it? It releases chemicals in your brain. And going back to what I said about inner conflict, realizing that your mind is not you. Just because you think things, it doesn't mean to say those thoughts belong to you. Everybody gets thoughts, but you don't have to go, well, that's me. You have to think, well, that's an interesting thought. Fancy that. I'm thinking that. Does it have any relevance, or is it any help to me, or is it help to anybody else? If it is, invite it in, tell it to sit down and give it a cup of tea. If it's not a helpful thought, you go, I think you need to move on. And sometimes you just wait till it goes, you turn away, you know, ignore, or distract yourself with something. And it's a lot healthier not to over-focus on things that are non-helpful. Especially if it feels very personal. But creativity is really important. Now, I can't give credit for this, but I looked up on the internet what a psychologist said. And I think it confirms a lot of what we've just said, really. Being committed to growing within and developing supportive and cultivating environments that form our capabilities. So like sharing your interests, I think that means. Believing in ourselves and our abilities, this is from a psychologist. Knowing about our health and how to be healthy. Being self-motivated to achieve goals that we in society value. It sounds a bit of a mouthful, but you know, just wanting to do it really, I think it means. And at the community level, we must be surrounded and supported by strong systems, institutions and resources and norms, and that security will help us all flourish. And I think that's why it's quite important to pray for our governments, because our governments are not always focused on creating and surrounding us with collaboratively strong support systems. They're quite happy to dismantle them in favour of their own agenda. And so therefore it's very important to pray for them that they will be compassionate and realise that what their job is to create society where everyone is supported and helped. Another thing that he mentions later on is, or she, to cultivate character strength and resilience so that we can flourish in adversity. So to have a sense of self means that when a bad thing comes along, a really bad thing, you can recover from it a lot faster. Physical health, gratitude, self-respect, I think is quite an important one. All these things are ones that we need to focus on and cultivate, and that's how we feed the good side of ourselves. If we go to the opposite, lack of self-respect, lack of self-esteem, cutting ourselves off from other people, not doing anything creative, being afraid of being outgoing, being fear-led rather than care-led or love-led, then it doesn't help our mental health. Yes, I think that's critical. I think I have that down on a list I made. You know, it's very self-forgiveness and the ability to let things go with other people. And sometimes that's quite hard. And it needs quite a lot of doing, but you have to form the habit. So if you're going to feed your good self, you're going to feed the spirit, you're going to feed your soul, don't feed it with, not forgiving yourself, going over why you did something over and over again, and that you were wrong, and it was your fault, and no wonder, and it just makes you miserable. And you have to somehow or other let that pass by and form a habit. It won't form straight away, but you have to think, no, that is just my mind playing tricks on me. It's not what God thinks, and my best self doesn't think that about myself. Let it go, like it says in that song. I love some of these modern songs. Nothing to do with church, but they have a big message. A lot of the modern songs have big messages. And that let it go, that was very popular in Frozen, that's for children, that film. You have something, there are a lot of bad things that happen to you, and all the things surrounding you, you have to let it go. And if you find it hard to let go, you say to God, I need you to help me to let it go, because it's hard to do. Right, this is what we're going to write here. Right, now I've spelt something wrong. You always do if you tell somebody else that you've spelled it wrong. Our real selves are exactly like this. They are the same nature of God. It's all the best bits of you. You're patient. You're kind, you're not jealous, you're not conceited or proud, you're not ill-mannered or selfish or irritable. You don't keep a record of wrongs. Now, that is not a good thing to do. Wrongs against yourself or wrongs against anybody else. Love is not happy with evil. You don't rejoice in, oh, they deserved that. They got what they want, because that's not God, and it's not you, because you were made in his image. But he's happy with the truth. Yeah, maybe they did make a mistake, but we all do that, don't we? And some people make gigantic, elephant-sized ones, but there you are. Love never gives up, and its faith, hope, and patience never fail. Love is eternal. Love always goes on and on and on. And that's the most important part of you. So that's your real self, okay? So we were initially made to be creative from the beginning. And the first job that people got was going, here's the animals, call them some names. I don't understand a mindset that goes, you've got to ask God about everything. He gave us the world to do it, to go out there and be it. If we're not sure, that's fine. And you can say to him, I'm going to do this. I remember when I was younger, there was all this, find out the will of God. And I used to say, God, what do you want me to do? And he went, whatever you like. If it's good, do it. In fact, if it's good, do it more and more and more. Just do whatever's good. Because he created humankind in his own image. And he said, go out, be fruitful. That means go out and do good things. And rule over, that is, make it good for the fish, make it good for the birds, make it good for every living creature, make it good for every other person. That's your job. Do good things. Don't ask me, shall I do it? I'm telling you, that's how you were made. So whatever creative thing we want to do, whether it's music or art, you know, even people who do really miserable music. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers Leonard Cohen. People loved Leonard Cohen. I think it's such miserable music, but people identified with that and they felt a fellow feeling. They thought, oh, Leonard Cohen, you know, I really can feel, you know, the unhappiness that I am feeling, he is feeling. And it made them feel better. So something, you know, God can use anything, and you can use anything. Some of that really loud rock music, that metal, death metal, it's awful stuff. But for some people, it lifts them. So it's amazing what people can actually get out of things, isn't it? But creativity is never lost, really. Yeah. Yes, yeah. That's right. It's helping. Yeah, other people are going through things. So a lot of those songs where people are struggling, it helps people to realise they are not alone. And people are empathising with. You know, so there's some, you know, really interesting songs when you hear the music and the words. A lot of the things in Greatest Showman, people have really embraced. It's a very uplifting set of music, is that. And a lot of people have empathised and been lifted up by that kind of music. Yeah, I've spelled human wrong here as well. Now, one thing that we always must remember is that humankind always needed to be nourished from what you can't see. And here's a verse. It says, blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out roots by the stream. Because you can't see the roots. You cannot see the roots of a tree. But without the roots, the tree would fall over and it wouldn't have anything to give it life. It's the same with those plants that I put there. You can't see the roots. So humankind always had to be nourished from an invisible source. There is a part of us that people can't see, that is inside us, that is a whole world of the invisible. And our main problem in life is that if we become over-focused on the visible world and we neglect the invisible part of our life, that we are then disadvantaged. You know, people who just go, oh, we're just a body. No, we're not just a body. We have things inside of us. And a way to flourish is to attend to what you can't see on the outside. And all the things that we've been talking about happen on the inside where people can't see. They're part of the unseen part of us. This is John 15:1-7. The Father's assistance is always kind and wise, and is always present within you. And he is the presence that connects you to other people, whether they know it or not, and whether you know it or not. And Jesus said, I am the true sprouting vine. He didn't say, I am a plant with arms. What he meant is giving an example that he is a fruitful vine. He cares for the branches connected to him. And he doesn't do it. I mean, I don't like some of the translations. There's a lot too much chopping off. When you have a vine and you want to produce fruit and you want to... yes, you do have to cut bits off that are no good. But mostly, you lift the parts of the vine up so they can see the light better. That's what you do with them. You know, you go, that one's been in the dark. So what God wants to do is lift you up so that you can see his light and see the positive things better from your vantage point. So the fruitless branches that things that are less good, he wants to lift them up to his light, so that all those positive things that we've been saying, we can lift ourselves up by doing those things, because that's what he wants us to do. And he says, the words I have over you, I have already cleansed you. You already know things inside you that can help you. And some of them are Bible related, and some of them are not necessarily that Bible related, but they are still those positive things. So, I always get the impression with some of the translations in John 15 that it's all about pruning, chopping bits off and throwing them in a fire. But in actual fact, what happens with vine dressers, the last thing they want to do is chop anything off. What they want to do is anything that's grown, for instance, I showed you the thing that grew without much light. It's seeking the light. It's seeking, so really it's looking. It's actually looking for what's good for it. So, it's now in the light. It'll probably do a lot better once it gets a bit of water, and once it gets so he doesn't want to punish you or make things hard for you to teach you a lesson. He's trying to help you. And I'm hoping that this talk will be part of just a tiny part of that help, to remind you of all the good things that will help nourish you so that you will flourish. Now then, one of the most important things, and I'm going to finish on this particular thing, is one of the things that's the most toxic, and I feel as if it's the most toxic in probably all the environments, but it can be anywhere, is anxieties and worries. They completely blind you. If you over-focus on your worries and anxieties, like they say, you're dead, mate. If you are completely, you are imagining the worst, you are experiencing worse. The physical world around you is going to present you with a lot of challenges. But if you just worry about them all the time, and we all do it, and I'm the same, it doesn't help. It's a right waste of time in the end. And I also remember that there was a favourite verse I had. I like a lot of the Psalms, but trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Your own understanding is that understanding that goes, oh, this is bad and it's going to get worse. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make straight your paths. So that leaning on him, that he is there to help. And a little comment underneath it, allowing God to be your guide begins with a commitment to trust, because he's not going to guide you anywhere. And quite often his guidance will be, you're doing all right. You're really doing all right. Don't you be so worried. Don't worry about all that stuff. And I think it's really important to realize how dangerous worry is. Worry blinds you. It cuts you off from your roots because you don't focus on taking in any kind of nourishment. It focuses you away from your help source. You are becoming, what's the word? You're becoming disabled. You are unabled by worry. It's meditation on everything that's bad. It's not meditation or doing anything that's good. So I'm going to finish with just reading out, if I can find it. I can't find it. I hope I can find it. Somewhere in here. Yeah. So both in Luke 12 and Matthew 11, it's a similar message. Are you tired and worn out? Come to me and get away with me, and you'll recover your life. He wants us to recover our life, not be overburdened. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you, keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. That's the Message version. It's one of my favourite versions of that one. And this is the Mirror. This is Luke 12. Observe how effortlessly wildflowers grow. Just like those. They just grew, didn't they? They don't sweat or spin. Honestly, my patio is a testimony to how wildflowers grow. You've just got rid of a lot of stuff, haven't you? Don't they grow though? You know, they grow. They don't do any work. They just grow. Now imagine the extravagant wardrobe of Solomon and his exquisite collection of brand name clothes. This is a good translation, isn't it? I tell you, his most favourite robe would pale in comparison to these flowers. Such exuberance and beauty seem wasted on mere vegetation that blooms today and becomes fuel for an oven tomorrow. How much more certainly will he clothe you? Why be so brief in your belief? Your preoccupation, I think this was a good translation, it's verse 29. Your preoccupation with your daily needs neutralizes you. If you are over preoccupied with stuff and anxiety and worries, it's like you're stuck in midair somewhere. This is a good translation from the original Greek. It suspends you in suspended animation. From now on, do life from a different perspective. Stuff does not define you. Exchange whatever it was that you've been doing all along under the old system of performance. That is, if I do this, then I'll get that. And God will like it, so I'll be a goody-goody. And then I'll get everything I want. No, you get stuff from God through grace. You don't have to do things. Exchange whatever it was that you've been doing all along under the old system of performance for this new life of adventure. Get it over and done with. Be compassion-driven in your sharing and giving. This takes hoarding out of the equation. Get rid of your antique purses, which are typically old and worn out. Instead, become creative in the adventure of trading with a new kind of purse, one that's loaded with heaven's currency, a treasure which cannot be exhausted. So basically what he's saying is, if you are just focused on stuff and self-maintaining and just yourself, you're missing out the opportunity of an adventure, because that's the old way of doing things. If I'm really, really good, God will answer my prayers. No, he'll answer your prayers without being really, really good and trying your hardest at everything. You'll get things anyway. Because what he wants you to focus on is the kingdom of God and his righteousness, the kindness and the compassion towards yourself and towards other people. The wisdom of the serpent and the gentleness of the dove. So a way of flourishing is to lay worry aside, to trust God for your own needs and wants, and go and you put down that purse where you keep going into it and go, that's what I need. Look, my purse is empty. We'll do something. He will give it you anyway. You'll always have a full bank account with God. In the sense of anything that you need, you can ask. But then use the other purse where you're giving and helping. And that's not just about money. That's about kindness, compassion, and being selfless. To exercise your unselfish nature, to exercise your selflessness is the ultimate way of flourishing. You begin to flourish as you set aside the worries and anxieties. You're not over-focused on the world around you and all the things that are happening to you, and focus on the good things that you can create in the world. Thank you.